Hello and welcome to my brand new podcast. I'm Nicky Raby and I'm thrilled that you're joining us. I do lots of things. I'm an actor, coach, writer, speaker and a mum. And in my coaching work, I work with creatives, personal brands, freelancers and small businesses. In this podcast, I want to talk about success, but not in the traditional sense. I want to bring you conversations that discuss success, what it means, and how there are many different versions. We're going to be talking about business, branding, becoming visible, saying no, saying yes, and how you can create a thriving portfolio career doing more of what you love and less of what you don't. Sometimes there can be a certain mystery around the online world, so I'm going to be asking my guests how they started and grew, how they get paid, how they stand out, and how they create success on their terms. As always, please check the show notes for all things we mention and come and say hi over on social media at Nicky Raby or via my website nickyraby.com/podcast. In today's episode, I'm talking to positive psychologist and success coach Niyc Pidgeon. Nick is on a mission to help 1 million women change their lives using positive psychology by the year 2020. She recently won Young Entrepreneur of the Year in the UK and proudly travels the world speaking, coaching and helping women create more joy, personal power and unstoppable success within themselves and their businesses. She's been featured in numerous mainstream media and her best-selling book, Now Is Your Chance, is a 30-day guide to living your happiest life using positive psychology, and it's published with the world's largest mind, body and spirit publisher, Hay House, and it's available now. I hope you enjoy this episode. It was so great to chat to Nick. Please share with a friend if you know someone who will enjoy this, and here we go. Hi Nick, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good in a cold and wet and rainy London, but I know you are somewhere probably much warmer. Where are you today?
I'm in Cape Town at the minute and it's about 30 degrees because it's the middle of summer.
Oh, God. And so if people don't know you, just tell us a little bit about what you do and what kind of work you do.
Of course. So I'm a recently best-selling author of my first book, Now Is Your Chance. I'm also a coach for female entrepreneurs. So I help women who have coaching businesses to create unstoppable success, but really help them also understand that it's not just about creating unstoppable success on the outside. It's so much about creating that on the inside as well. So I love to help women to really find their power and to create more joy through entrepreneurship. I think it's the perfect vehicle to help us be bigger women and to help us say yes to more.
Yeah, I first came across you on Emily Williams's channel because I've worked with Emily myself. And as soon as I heard like a bit of a Geordie twang, I was like, hang about, this lady is from the UK. And it really excited me to hear your story because even though we didn't know each other, there was something in you that I just recognised. I thought, you'd know the same pop bands as me. You probably had the same Kappa tracksuit or whatever it might be, with the poppers down the side. But I really warmed to you immediately because I was just curious about success, because certainly where I grew up, it wasn't well talked about. It was about playing small and coasting along and knowing your place and, putting up with your lot or whatever it might be. But there certainly wasn't what is your version of an extraordinary life? What do you really want to do? What's that stuff that fires you up? And I read on your website about that you had that inquiring mind. Did you know that you had that from a very young age?
I knew that I was really annoying for my parents. So, everything kind of makes sense when you reflect on it and you look and you connect the dots backwards. But mum and dad used to always say to me that I was continually asking why. Right. So I'd always want to know why something was the way it was or how something became the way it was. So I think that real kind of curiosity served me well, whether that was through the learning that I did in school and in an academic sense, whether it was learning more about people and about human behavior, or when it came to business, really working out and understanding how I could be, do, create, and have more in the world.
Yeah. And had you seen that in somebody? Had you had that moment of like, oh, hang about, I want to do that as well? Or did you just have that sense of yourself of like, I know that I'm meant to do this?
What's interesting is that when I was growing up and I was in school, I had this idea that I wanted to set up a business, and I used to tell everybody I want to own a business. And I mean, I used to charge my parents for doing the ironing. I'd say, okay, I'll do the ironing and I'll do 50 pence an item. And I mean, I must have been about 12 years old. So I guess it's like from that early age, there was something in me, but it wasn't until much later when I actually set up my first business. Mum and dad weren't entrepreneurial. They both had jobs. The encouragement was really to leave school and get a job myself and work my way up the corporate ladder. Now, my first kind of desire was actually not to do that, but to go to university instead, because I loved to learn. And while I was at university and I was going through my studies of psychology and positive psychology, I actually had a couple of mentors, which I didn't realize were mentors until after the fact. So there was my friend Steph, her mum, who was the head of the entrepreneurship degree at Newcastle University. And she did a lot of public speaking. And I actually ended up going on to work with her and to lecture in those universities alongside her. So she was a great role model, especially being a woman and seeing what's possible for a really successful woman that doesn't kind of like shy away in the limelight from a guy.
Yeah.
And then the other mentor that I had was actually my ex-boyfriend's dad, who had come from nothing, absolutely nothing. I mean, he had foster parents and he worked his way up and he became a wildly successful entrepreneur. And he was the first person to franchise the Body Shop from Anita Roddick.
Wow.
So I had these people that I could look up to and I could say, why are you the way that you are? And what can I learn from you?
Yes, and it's just that being able to break down that process almost, and that kind of, it's almost like those little clues of like how somebody pays the bill. Or I always used to think about how women would smell as they walked in. I'd be like, yes, she looks successful because she smells really nice. And how did that beginning of your entrepreneurial journey begin for you?
So when I first set up my business, it was when I graduated from my master's degree. So it seemed like a natural progression to leave uni and do something with the tools that I'd learned. Now, at the time, I didn't really have a great business sense. I didn't really look at what was going to be the most profitable for me or what was going to be the most leverageable and scalable. And what I did, and it's still something that I would encourage people to do, is put all of the stuff that I loved and I made it into a business. So people ask me now, Nick, what are your hobbies? And I'm literally like, my work, because I made what I love into a business. But I kind of got it backwards when I started out, because I started out doing a lot of speaking, running motivational events. And it wasn't something that was very scalable, because there's only one of me and I could only kind of market and run an event and show up so many times throughout the year.
Yes.
So it quickly became apparent that it wasn't that great for cash flow. So I went on from there to really change my business model and to focus more on the online side of things and focus on the coaching side of things with the speaking to support that.
Fantastic. And what was the first thing that you did in, because I guess online business is a huge umbrella of, that sounds great, but how do you start? I know you talk about hiring a coach. Was that really integral to you really building momentum?
Absolutely. And I know everybody says it, but it's because it's true.
Yeah.
And if I look at what I've learned over the years, it's always been from those people that have either been there and done it before, or somebody that's an expert in an area that I want to learn from. Like if you look at the whole pattern of our lives, we go to school and we learn from other people that know more than us.
Yes.
So why should it be any different in business? So I invested in a course first of all, and then I invested in working one-on-one with a coach. And when I invested in working with that one-on-one coach, I literally invested everything that I had. So it wasn't an easy decision, but it was something that I knew was absolutely right.
And how did you know that that was non-negotiable for you? Because I see it a lot with my clients, or sometimes I have conversations with people for a couple of months back and forth, and you can tell that they're ready to make that leap, and yet there's something that's holding them back, or maybe they're not sure what it's going to entail. How did you know that that was the right time for you to step into that?
Okay, this is going to be a bit of a strange answer, but at the time, I'd invested in one course already, which was, I think it was around about $3,000 for an online course. And my assistant and I had literally sat and worked away and put everything into place, launched this program that we'd built based on that course. And the program was a group training program, and it sold one place. Now, that is not a group. Everybody knows that one person is not a group. So I went into panic mode because at this particular time, I had moved out of my apartment in Newcastle. I'd said goodbye to my friends and family, and I'd moved to the other side of the world. So I'd gone to Australia to write my first book, and at this particular time, I was in New Zealand. And I was steadily burning through the savings that I'd taken on the premise that this group program was going to work. So when I was kind of in this place and space of having this one person signed up to my group program, I went to doing the things that I really know how to do best, which is applying the principles of positive psychology and positive mindset to actually help me find a solution. So I was listening to loads of positive podcasts. I was meditating. And in one particular meditation, I was saying, please help me find guidance. Show me a solution. Show me a sign. And I literally came out of that meditation and I looked at my mobile phone and I had one notification, and it was a Facebook notification from somebody that I'd never met, never even heard of. And she was reaching out to me because she'd seen what I'd been doing with my business, and she wanted to basically be my coach. So because it was such a sure sign, that's the person that I signed up with.
Brilliant. And it was just right place, right time. Thank you very much. Off we go.
Totally. Absolutely.
And has your capacity for what is possible changed, or has your vision changed, or has it sort of remained the same? Did you know that this was going to happen?
I knew that this was always what I wanted to happen, and I was prepared to do the work to actually make it happen. So the work, yes, it's the strategy and it's taking action every day in your business. It's also the inner work. So I would literally, and I still do now, do a ritual every morning. I would meditate. I would listen to abundance meditations. I would write affirmations. So I was doing all of this stuff to really shift my psychology. Now, I've always had a big vision, and I know that we can always accomplish whatever it is we want to accomplish, and probably even more. And I think one of the biggest and most important things that we need to learn as entrepreneurs, but also as people, is to think long term and not short term. Because a lot of the time, if you focus on the short term, you can go into panic and scarcity mode. Why are things so bad right now? I don't feel good right now. These are all the problems that I've got. But if you change your thinking to, okay, so I know that in 50 years' time, I'm still going to be doing what I'm doing because my mission and my commitment and my message is so strong that I know that people need to hear it. Therefore, this little thing that's happening right now really isn't going to affect that long-term vision.
Yes.
So I always had my eye on like that big thing that I wanted to create, and that really helped me drive forwards towards it.
So in terms of those big those strategies that have really helped you made those big leaps and really stand out from the crowd, what have those been for you?
It sounds boring, but one of the things that you must do if you want to make it as an entrepreneur is be consistent. So not just taking your foot off the gas when something good happens, or not stopping when you feel like you can't go anymore. It doesn't matter what your emotional state is or what your mood is every single day. You need to be doing something to move yourself forwards. So that has definitely been something that I've really, really worked with. Also the mindset side of things. So making sure that I've worked on myself as well as working on my business.
Yes.
I've had a lot of strategy in terms of how to utilize Facebook marketing. And that's been really important in building the business. And also learning to get comfortable with getting visible.
Oh, yes. How have you done that? Because certainly the stories that you share on your website, there's personal stuff in there. How have you found that fine line between telling your story but not bearing your soul, as it were?
Mm. The important thing is, like, if you're discussing something that's challenging or was a challenge for you in the past, there needs to have been a learning that's come from that. So you share from the place of, this was really hard at the time, but this is how I've overcome it. So I always think about, right, actually, how can I help somebody else with this share that I'm going to give?
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that it's been easy, because there's been times where, one particular time that I can recall was when I came back to England from where I lived in Los Angeles, and I was standing up on stage and I was going to give the next Young Entrepreneur of the Year the award that I'd won the year previously. Mm. And I knew that to be authentic, I needed to share my whole story. But it was something that terrified me, and it hung over me for 2 months before I actually went to do that talk. So I worked with a coach around that particular thing to help me break through, to be able to stand there and be able to share. And literally everybody in the room was crying. And so many people came up to me afterwards and they were like, Nick, I've been through the same thing. Thank you for standing up there and sharing this, because it's helped me find the strength to show that I can actually live a normal life afterwards.
Wow. And we see things on EastEnders or the TV, or we become so immune to stuff we see in films, but I feel like there's nothing more poignant than a real person that you might be looking at and going, gosh, the Me Too movement has been huge throughout the world. So now, as you're moving up into this next level, how have you created your brand? How have you managed to like when you watch the Olympics, or and you see them going around the track, those 5,000 meters or something, and then you suddenly start to see a couple of people break away and kind of move into the next level. How, without obviously running, how have you done that for yourself? Because I do feel like there's quite a highly populated middle ground of people who want to help you design your best life or make you feel empowered. How have you managed to go to that next level?
It's by consistently developing myself as well as getting results for clients. So I think that you must always learn from someone that's been there and done it before.
Yes.
And always, if you're going to be investing in something, you want to see that person is growing themselves as well. So I always invest in myself with my coaching, and always make sure that I have something very tangible that I'm working towards. So for example, like the awards have been fantastic in terms of Young Entrepreneur of the Year, working on my book launch, doing my move from Australia to Los Angeles, like the big speaking gigs I've done, the live events that I'm running. So everything has been very intentional. And I think that people can see that from the outside, because there's always something new that's progressive along the journey.
Yes.
So what they don't see is the hard work behind the scenes.
Yeah, and the crying on the kitchen floor.
Yeah,
and it feels so
100%.
hard.
Absolutely. And it is hard. And I don't want anyone to think that it isn't hard. Like it does take a lot out of you, and it commands a growth in your capacity to be responsible. Because as you grow as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of other new, different challenges that require you to grow into a person that can deal with those different challenges.
Mm-hmm. And also there's not a rule book that you kind of, you're not following a roadmap of like, so this is what's going to happen and then this is what's going to happen. It's very checkered, certainly, the path that you take, because also we're all navigating this new landscape of online business, and new things are popping up all the time, and we don't know what is around the corner necessarily. How did you write your book, and how important has that been to your brand?
I mean, it's been really important, and it's not just the writing of the book that's the thing that you work on. There's so many different parts to bringing that book to life that you don't even know until you actually start the process. So I wrote the book in a month, but the proposal took about 6 months, and the edit took about 3 months. So when you put that all together with the stop-start in between and waiting for various different things, it took a total of almost 3 years. So it was a case of knowing what the core message is that I want to share, and making sure that I really focused on that and bringing this book to life and getting this tool into the hands of the people that need it the most.
Yes. And what has it done since it's been out in the world for you? How has it changed things for you?
It's given me a lot more presence with my audience, but also really connected me with a much wider audience than I had before. So the book's available. I mean, I've seen it in airports, I've seen it in bookstores, as well as all of the online retailers. And it's amazing seeing something that you've created. I mean, it almost doesn't seem me. It's kind of surreal. And it's been really good because people snap it and they take photos and send it to me on Instagram when they see it in different places and when they've been reading it on the beach. So it's really fulfilling to know that it's helping people all around the world. And it's been amazing just helping me build that credibility.
Yeah, for sure. And it's lovely that people can gain so much value from you, but you actually don't have to be in the room with them reading it every single moment. That's been great. Have there been any books for you that have really shaped the way that you do things or changed your life in some way? I'm sure there's been loads.
Yeah, there's been loads, and I absolutely love reading. So it's always challenging to pick a favourite. I mean, over the years, if I look at like books that have really changed the way that I do things, I read Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week.
Yes.
And that really formed in part like one of the reasons that I set up a business in the first place. And it's one of those go-to books that most people have read, but it's almost a classic now.
Yes.
So that's something I'd recommend. And I love his new one, Tools of Titans, as well.
Oh, it's on my list. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, and there's all of the stuff by Hay House. I mean, it's my favourite activity to go into the Hay House office in London or in New York and to raid the book cupboard. I'm like, can I take these books? Like, you can take anything you want, Nick, just take them. So I came back from New York a few weeks ago with literally a bag filled with books.
I love it. It's like there's nothing better than free stuff still, even though you can be like, yeah, of course. But, that totally. I love both of those. They're really great. And even though you are such a positive person, you've got a degree and all the rest of it in it. What do you do when motivation wavers, or you just have those downtimes or challenges in life that are going to filter into your business? How do you sort of close off that, or how do you box it up in a way that you can still carry on in a way that feels good to you?
One of the things that I've really struggled with and I've had to be really mindful of over the past 3 years is my energy, because I've traveled a lot. I mean, for 2.5 years, I was completely location independent, which meant I was on a flight every few weeks.
Wow.
So that was challenging in terms of making sure that I always showed up as a leader with high energy, able to look after my clients. But to be able to look after your clients, you've got to be able to look after yourself first.
Yes.
So that's one of the indicators for me if things are going well or if things are a little bit off somewhere. Because when your energy's off, your mindset's off, your self-belief's off. So my primary focus for the day is, right, okay, how can I make sure that I'm filled with energy. So that means eating a healthy diet. It means having enough sleep. It means doing a morning ritual. It means surrounding myself with things that I love. So it's these basic practices that really do matter so much.
Yes, absolutely. And I really feel sometimes you don't know how important they are until you don't do them, or you miss a day, or you go to somewhere where the people in that room don't make you feel good, and then you're suddenly like, oh, okay, that's why I surround myself with people who get me. It's so true. What would you say to your teenage self, or any kind of teenagers that are listening and thinking, well, is that possible for me? Could I really do that? Because I'm sure what you're doing isn't on the curriculum in terms of this is an option for your career. It's probably a bit more, I mean, I didn't have the internet when I was at school, so, it's a different playing field now. But what would you go back and say to those girls, or indeed yourself? Or boys?
Mainly that you can do anything that you desire to do. So go with what feels good for you, because when I first embarked on my career, I was actually going to be a mechanical and automotive engineer. And it was something that didn't feel right for me at the time. So after getting scholarships to go and study that at university, I finally listened to my intuition. And I was like, right, okay, I'm going to go and do the thing that does feel right for me. And I'm so glad that I had that insight at the age of 17. Most people don't. I think it's really hard when you're that young to know what's meant for you and to know what the right thing is to do. So it's more important that you actually listen to what it is that feels right.
Yeah, and they never talk about feelings at school. I remember Danielle Laporte doing an interview about it and saying if they just taught feelings or feeling into things, everything would be so much easier. And just to finish with, where would you like to be in 5 years' time?
On stage with 10,000 people in the audience. Easy.
And what would you be doing?
Speaking about exactly what I speak about now, mindset, motivation, marketing, business entrepreneurship, women's empowerment, exactly the same as I'm doing now, just on a bigger scale so that I can help so many more people.
Amazing. And we'd take that in the background as your backing dancers.
Yeah, Hanson, Mbop.
Yeah, totally. And where would you be? Or would you still be living this location independent sort of lifestyle?
Well, I mean, I loved my home in LA. Like, that really is my soul home. But I'm completely open because in the past few months, I've moved to Cape Town because I met my partner, Greg. And that never would have been in my plan or on the horizon. So I fully know that there's a bigger plan that's meant for us. And I'm completely open to wherever that takes me.
What a brilliant way to be. What a brilliant place to be in. As in, like, come on, universe. Show me what you got. Let's see where we go. Brilliant. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nick. If people want to get to know you more or come and visit your site or connect with you on social media, where should they go?
So my site is niycpidgeon.com and the book's on there. You can find out everything about what I do. All of my programs are on there. And then social media, either on Facebook or Instagram as well.
Lovely. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I know that so many people are going to be listening into their car or whilst they're cooking their kids' dinner and thinking, right, this is it. I'm going to, they'll start to hear the soundtrack in the back of their head going, I can do this too. And that's what my work is all about. It's about bringing different versions of success. So thank you. And thank you for being so open and showing the way for so many.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear what you thought of the episode and share any takeaways with me. Come and find me across social media at Nicky Raby, or you can visit the podcast page, nickyraby.com/podcast.